Hello. Sorry for starting slightly late. I actually I started the wrong stream for some reason. Don't know quite why or how I managed to do that, but I did. Such are the joys of YouTube and not having a big team running things. I was supposed to have a larger panel of guests this evening for this stream originally, but unfortunately, one by one, for various reasons, I've lost most of them. Fortunately, Rachel's here, aka Rebel Rose, so you can relax instead of being stuck with me. Yeah, and very kindly also, you watched and the band played on for the first time today, I think.
Yeah, that was my first time seeing it. Oh my goodness.
Well,
frustrating and sad film.
I mean, but also what an incredibly valuable film as well. Welcome, Big Dave EK 8322. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate this stream might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I do one of these every year on World AIDS Day. This is the third one, and I usually talk about the same thing or a variation of the same thing, which is depiction of this subject in the media. We're going to risk doing a clip from one of the things I'm going to talk about today. I don't know if the audio is going to work on this. I mean, let me just see if I can open this in Chrome. No, I can't. So, yeah, I don't know if this all. I don't know if the audio will work on this. It's a problem, and if there's no audio, it's not going to be any good. I wonder if this clip is on YouTube. Well, let me hold off on that for the moment. So, obviously, it's World AIDS Day today, and all around the world there'll be various things happening. The purpose of today is to commemorate all those lost to the HIV and AIDS epidemic, which of course was particularly prevalent in the 80s and 90s, right up really until sort of 97, until the first brands of medication that came out that enabled people to live a little bit longer. And then, of course, the second wave of medication that came out pretty much, well, it didn't eradicate the disease. It basically stopped people from being infectious. It meant people that were on medication and undetectable could not pass the virus on to other people. Very important to educate people on that aspect. Sadly, it was too late for my cousin Mikael, who was my favourite cousin growing up. And I don't have a photograph of him, sadly. I mean, we did have lots of pictures, but when my parents passed away, sadly, I did not end up with many of the photos. I do have some photos. I just don't have one of him. And I know we did have some because he came to stay with us for a couple of Christmases. He also came to stay with us for, I think, about 3 summers in a row. And I don't know if I ever knew that Mikael was gay. I don't have a conscious thought of that as a kid. He was just the cool cousin who came over with shitloads of Lego for me every time he came over to the UK. So obviously that was very important to me as a kid. More Lego arriving, Mikael's coming, you know. And that was great. Because I was big into Lego then, I'm big into Lego now. I don't buy loads of the sets that are coming out because I can't afford them. But yeah, anyway. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about today and that we're going to discuss is depictions of HIV in the media that sort of covered the early days of the epidemic. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about stuff that only came out in the early days. I'm talking about stuff that's been made since that also looks back at what happened then. And the band played on is one of the things we're going to get into shortly. Big Dave's just mentioned it. Alan Alda was in it. Fantastic actor. And actually, it wasn't the film that introduced me to Alan Alda. That was the TV show MASH. But I had a habit of watching everything Alan Alda was in. And it was the fact that Alan Alda and Matthew Modine were in the film. I didn't even know what the movie was about. I saw it at the cinema, actually. It had a limited cinema release in the UK. I saw it at the cinema, and I didn't even know what the film was about when I went to watch it. I just saw that all these big names were in it. And I thought, well, that's got to be interesting. So we'll get into that in a little bit. When We Rise came out only a few years ago, but that's one of the more recent things that come out. It's a much bigger story than just the AIDS epidemic, but it has 2.5, 3 episodes of the 8 episodes dedicated to that. So we're going to talk about that as well. So before we get into all of that, Miss Rose, Rebel Rose, my co-host, how's your week been? How have you been doing?
Oh, it's all right. Just, had Thanksgiving last week and trying to recover from it this week, getting back into the swing of things.
Does that mean you're feeling bloated like a big fat turkey, or is that the bell on the turkey I can hear now? Was your turkey pardoned by Trump? And it now has a bell on it and it's wandering around the house kind of thing?
Yes, we now have a pet turkey.
I thought so, yeah. Excellent. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Okay, so, all right, so, and the band played on, came out in 1993. When We Rise, I think came out, I think it was around 2017, I want to say. It was 2017. Good memory, Lance. Well done. But with, yeah. And then the other show, I have watched it. I've got the whole thing. The other thing I want to talk about, which was a play originally, is The Normal Heart. But they did a fantastic television adaptation of that. It's actually one of the best adaptations of a play I've ever seen, and that was also done by HBO with a fantastic cast. One of your favourite actors is in it, Rebel Rose, Mark Ruffalo. I know what a big fan you are of this.
Oh yes, huge.
huge. So that came out again. I guess more recently. It was 2014. Just to see if we can maybe play the trailer for that. I'm worried I'm going to get copyright here, but this is all in the aim of education for people on the topic. So I really feel we should get past, but whether they'll agree, we shall see.
Fingers crossed.
This is the trailer for A Normal Heart. I mean, I have to tell you, this is first class television drama. Let's have a quick look at the trailer.
Summer has officially begun.
I've never seen or heard of anything like this. This seems to only be happening to gay men.
We have to do something. No one else will. Men do not naturally not love. They learn not to.
Ned Weeks, I spoke to you after the Times article.
I've seen over 300 patients. Where's this big mouth I hear you've got?
Big mouth a symptom?
No, it's a cure. You are all going to infect each other.
It doesn't leave much to look forward to.
You're accusing the government of a conspiracy to murder all gay men?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, we need your help. Mr. Mayor!
Let's move somewhere far away. Don't you dare stop for one single second. What are you doing?
How are they going to help us if they don't know who we are?
They won't help us, Ned, if they do.
What happens to people who can't be as strong as you want them to be?
They're going to cancel our health insurance. They're going to put us into camps. They're going to quarantine us. You can't stop fighting for the ones you love.
You understand living all your life.
Yeah, so that was
Guess.
Let's cut that Marvel trailer. Thank you. We don't need that. So that was first done as a play, both in New York and London at the Royal Court, and Martin Sheen was in the lead role when that came out. And I've seen the stage production twice, but I have to say that the HBO movie of A Normal Heart is actually, I think, is more impactful than the stage production, because it's so real, and it's really eye-opening. But yeah, so that's another one that's more recent. That's definitely worth your time. All of the performances, whether you like those particular actors or not, everybody's on their A game in that particular show. It's a really, really good film. I don't think you've seen that one though, no?
No, I feel like I've seen the trailer for it though. I probably just didn't watch it at the time, but yeah, it really does look like all the actors are putting everything into it. Kind of wish I had seen that one.
Let's go back to the 80s when, I mean, were you alive in the 80s? I know you're a bit younger than me, but were you alive in the 80s, late 80s?
Yeah, I was alive in the late 80s. I was too young to know what was going on, but I was alive.
Do you remember how old you were when you first heard about the AIDS epidemic happening?
Oh, I probably would have been about 5 or 6. You know, you hear things as a kid, but you don't process things.
But do you remember? Yeah, I get that. I mean, do you remember the first memory you have where you did kind of connect the dots, so to speak?
Well, the first time I heard of AIDS was from a TV show. And it was from an episode of In the Heat of the Night where they were talking about the AIDS epidemic and how it could affect anyone. And that's the first time I'd ever heard of it.
In the Heat of the Night, was that like a sort of common affairs discussion show, or what
No,
was that?
that was a police procedural.
Oh, okay.
Set in small town Georgia, and or small town Mississippi, not Georgia.
Right.
But,
so it's a bit like Law and Order, but like a small town version of Law and Order kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say that. Just a little bit more melodramatic, but they would do what Law and Order did. They would take topics that were important at the time and write episodes around that. And that is the first time I remember ever hearing of anyone discussing AIDS or HIV or, and that raises the question in a kid, what is that? And then you start asking questions.
Yeah.
And
I mean, in the UK, I'm going to try and find them now. Well, usually I'm a bit more organised than this, I think, because I started the stream wrongly and then I closed a whole load of windows I didn't mean to. I've closed loads of stuff. But the first time that I really became aware of it, but it was sort of talked about, and then because we had a sexual health lesson at school, I guess we were probably all around 14 at the time, 13 or 14, maybe, we were probably teenagers, like 13. And, it was all very, we're going to have a STD talk. So it was a whole 2 lessons on just that. And we got to watch this Disney video where like gonorrhea and syphilis were like animated characters. Did you ever see that?
I have never seen that or even heard of it. Oh my God.
Yeah, so Disney made this STD educational film, and it was like a general talking to the troops. It was a bit like Full Metal Jacket. And he's like, a lot of you are going to get wiped out in the first wave, especially you gonorrhea guys, and all this kind of thing, right? And that was our talk about STDs. And then it was not long after that, it was about a year later, that the virus sort of reached the news, in the UK. And I'm guessing this would have been around 86. And and the first adverts started kind of landing on our TV screens as part of a sort of government ad campaign, right? And this is one of the first ones that I saw, and I didn't even know what it was.
There is now a danger that has become a threat to us all. It is a deadly disease and there is no known cure. The virus can be passed during sexual intercourse with an infected person. Anyone can get it, man or woman. So far, it's been confined to small groups, but it's spreading. So protect yourself. And read this leaflet when it arrives. If you ignore AIDS, it could be the death of you. So don't die of ignorance.
It was very like, that's John Hurt's voice from Alien. I mean, you couldn't get a more Grim Reaper voice if you tried. And very dramatic, these things. There were two of them. There was this one and there was one with an iceberg. And the camera kind of panned down to under the iceberg, and it's like you can't see the danger, and under the iceberg there's age chiseled into the side of the. But this is like, I forgot that it even had all this like dramatic music, and yeah, he says it sounds a bit like the intro to The Shining. It does a bit, but I guess it had the desired effect because everybody remembers these adverts. If you were alive at that time and you were watching British TV, everybody remembers these.
That was when they had 30 seconds to hammer home a point. And for something like this, it needs to be dramatic and eye-catching to explain in 30 seconds the danger. And yeah, very effective. Now it would be everybody walking around singing and dancing and, oh, it's just, it's going to be fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Like La La Land.
Yeah.
Well, this is the BFI. That's the British Film Institute for those American heathens watching. That they did a really good breakdown of different sort of attempts to dramatize AIDS, and it was largely ignored by the mainstream media for quite some time. You had this film Buddies in 1985. I'd never heard of that. I do remember an early Frost being advertised. The first major feature film, 1989, was Long-Time Companion, and that's a still from it there. The actor on the right is, I think is it Bruce Greenwood? Forgive me if I've got his name wrong. But he was in one of the X-Men movies.
Bruce Davidson.
Bruce Davidson, thank you. Bruce Davidson. Yeah, Bruce Greenwood played JFK in the Cuban Missile Crisis movie. He's also a fantastic actor. Bruce Davidson, that's right. This is him with his partner, who's dying in the scene. It's a very effective scene. I do believe the whole film of this is on YouTube. I personally own the DVD. It's funny, if you watch the trailer for this movie, there are clips in the trailer that clearly were cut from the film, which is a shame. To suggest there's a longer version of it out there somewhere. But the film that kind of most people will remember is Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, 1993. That came along and sort of landed, and suddenly now it was really out in the mainstream. You had a big actor who was mainly known for doing comedies, who suddenly came along. He's playing a gay man who was suffering from the virus, trying to take his company to court, who constructively dismissed him effectively, based on a true story. Great film. Dated now and slightly, I don't know, that film doesn't sit so well with me now on repeated viewings. It reeks of, do you remember that American Dad sketch where, do you ever watch American Dad with the alien?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when the alien's pitching the movie and he calls the movie Oscar Gold, and it's about him playing a cripple in a wheelchair? Yeah, Philadelphia's sort of feels a bit like that. But one of the things about Philadelphia, though, is that it did really well is there's several scenes in it where I think Hanks goes to, like, he goes to like a doctor's. There's another one where he goes to a hospital, and there are other AIDS patients in the background, and they were all real. And there was another actor that was in Mississippi Burning with Gene Hackman and William Dafoe, who got diagnosed not long after that. And he's in the background playing one of those patients in Philadelphia. So, I mean, they certainly went for authenticity. And it was around that time, and the band played on that came out, which was based on an award-winning journalistic account of the epidemic written by Randy Shilts, who was a San Francisco gay reporter. I think he wrote for either the Bay Area newspaper or the San Francisco Chronicle, I forget which newspaper. And he chronicled the outbreak. He interviewed a lot of key people. Not everything in his book is completely accurate, but it is a very powerful narrative. The entire thing told from many perspectives, and including the team that were battling behind the scenes to try and stop the spread of the disease, facing all kinds of political obstacles. Now, that strand of the book is the strand which the film predominantly follows. And that's the film that you watched today. So let me get up the IMDb page for that, and I've also got the movie here. I've watched the movie recently. I normally watch it about once a year. It still holds up really well. I mean, a cacophony of big names came together. They all did this film for minimum wage, basic rates. They weren't paid a lot of money, and you've got everybody from Phil Collins to Steve Martin coming on and doing cameos. Donald Logue, my friend, is also in this movie. And it's predominantly told from the point of view of Matthew Modine, who is playing the doctor who comes on board the team at the, what do you call it, the Atlanta, it's based in Atlanta, the health crisis
it's
management.
the CDC based in Atlanta.
CDC, thank you, CDC, Center for Disease Control. So he's heading up the Center for Disease Control. Now, this whole film, as I said, is on YouTube, and I've got it here. I'm going to pick a clip for us to watch in a sec. But, Rachel, you just saw this film for the first time today, and as I mentioned earlier, when I went into the cinema to watch it, I didn't even know what it was about. I just went in to see it because certain actors were in it, and I like going in to see films with no knowledge sometimes. The link, if people ever want to watch it, is in the chat now. Yeah, tell me your reaction when you finished it.
You just feel so frustrated. You feel frustrated by the scientific community and the government by the end of it, because the number of people that die from it, it was preventable. At least some of them, it could have been prevented if they would have treated it seriously in the very beginning, and they didn't. They looked at it as, oh, it's just affecting this community that we don't care about anyway. And that's the sad part of it. They didn't care. Only a handful, probably in the hundreds, doctors actually were trying to find the cure or find a cause even. Not even a cure, just trying to find the cause and a way to let people know if they had the disease or not. Because people were just living their lives until they eventually got sick, and it killed them very quickly. And
and I mean, of course, at the time, and the band played on is kind of set between. I think it starts off. You've got a few little time jumps very early on with the first case that was known at the time that the film was made, which was in Denmark with a Danish nurse who actually was a lesbian. She had come back from working in Africa, and it's believed that she was exposed to blood products while working on patients, and contracted the virus that way. And she died in Denmark, I think it was 71. It might have been with her. I'd need to check the book. It's at the beginning of the movie. And then we kind of jumped to America and sort of 1980 and 81. And slowly this mysterious illness is creeping through the community. And gradually the CDC become aware of it. And then as soon as people start realizing how serious it is, but because it's predominantly affecting gay men, although that changes very quickly, the inertia to move and combat the disease is so frustratingly slow, whereas if it had been killing heterosexual men and women from the get-go, you know, everything would have sprung into action. I find this has a lot of parallels with Hurricane Katrina, where you have this awful thing that's sweeping through and destroying a certain community, predominantly affecting poor people. And America has the means, has the power. It's got one of the biggest armies in the world to mechanize everything and, you know, bring in boats and the National Guard and all this in huge numbers in a massive coordinated effort. Yet it takes a frustratingly long time for it to move into action. Now, obviously, Katrina is a microcosm comparison to that. Eventually, they did start doing things and getting people out and whatever, but it still took frustratingly far longer than it should. Here, it takes years rather than days and weeks. Let's have a quick look. This will be quite a low res clip. This is on YouTube, as I've said. I think I can share this with sound. This is when Matthew Modine arrives at the CDC and is first introduced to the team. Let's have a quick look at this clip.
Do a little demonstration of the benefits of a sound knowledge of applied science. Hi, Harold Jaffe, sexually transmitted diseases.
Oh. Hi, Don. Bill Darrow, sociology. You didn't shake Harold's hand, did you?
Don, hi. Thanks for coming. Did you meet everybody?
Yeah.
How's Phoenix? Warm. Don't we have a meeting in my office at 3 o'clock? What's everybody doing here?
Trying to have lunch in 4 minutes like you.
If one of those is peanut butter cookies, that is mine.
Let's go.
Dale Lawrence, Division of Host Factors. I see that.
Okay, what we've got in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York is a number of gay men who've been hit with a variety of opportunistic infections, and really, that's all we know. I've asked Don to join us because for the last 3 years, he's been tracking hepatitis B virus in gay men, and before that, worked on the Ebola fever epidemic in Africa. Yeah, thanks for joining us. What we've got to do is hit the phones and spread out, contact the health departments in all the major metropolitan areas as usual, so they can do a hospital-to-hospital search for cases.
Basic.
Right, so I'm just going to pause it there so we don't get taken off here. Yeah, I mean, this is the first thing I was going to point out. Just Big Dave has just said, God, I recognise every actor in this scene. I mean, absolutely. This is a cream of what you would call character actors. You've got Christian Clemenson playing Dr. Dale Lawrence. That's the tall guy with the kind of strawberry blonde hair. I'm very pleased to report that most of the actors in this scene are still around, by the way. Matthew Modine, of course, playing Don Francis. We also have Glenn Headley, who sadly is no longer with us, which is a real shame, giving one of her best and most sensitive performances in this, especially her scene with Richard Gere. Richard Gere is in this very impactful scene. I mean, Sol Rubinek, who's playing Jim Curran, another massive actor. That's Charles Martin Smith on the screen right now, who many people will remember, kind of shot to fame in The Untouchables with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner. And he's also still going. He's an actor I would love to interview if I could ever get him. Well, him or Saul Rubinek even. And yeah, this is where they're first discussing. The guy you're talking about with the beard, who was in The Thing, who plays the guy looking after the dogs in The Thing. His name is God, it's on the tip of my tongue. It will come to me in a sec. But he's a massive actor. He is also still around. He recently played a role of Fuzzy in the TV series Transparent, kind of sponging off this older woman. But yeah, he's a great actor. Really, really rate him as well. Another one who's at the top of his game. Yeah, it's a fantastic cast in this movie. So this is, as I say, this is the sort of early on. It's one of the first meetings, and this kind of stuff is very accurate in terms of where they were at with it, how much information they had at the time. We'll just listen to a little bit more of this.
Shoe leather epidemiology.
That's it. We've got to talk to the patients, talk to the doctors who may have treated those patients, and friends, relatives. No question too stupid or too personal.
Sexual relationships too.
Lifestyle stuff.
Household chemical cleaning, diet,
Could be a bad batch of street drugs.
pets.
Yeah, maybe they all get the same kind of kitty litter.
Don, I'm going to go to New York this afternoon and take a look at this disease. Can you come with me?
Sure.
Okay, so Richard Mazur is the actor that we're talking about who was in The Thing. So yeah, he's also in there. So straight away, you know, they're talking about this like it's not going to be around for very long. And in fact, the budget that they had when they started to investigate this disease was for 3 months. When you
they really had nothing.
Yeah, I know. They had nothing. A lot of people were putting in extra time for free and things of that nature. So, yeah. This next actor, whose name escapes me, I'd have to look through Stephen Spinella. Stephen Spinella. He's been in many things, often plays gay characters. Here, playing a former drag queen who's sort of in the early stages of Kaposi sarcoma. Well, not early, later stages. And one of the early AIDS patients. Just have a quick look at this scene.
If I knew these blotches would turn purple, I'd have bought some bags to match. Here, look at my book. When I was still human. I was the best in the business. Ask anybody. Leave it to me to get some disease nobody ever heard of. Kaposi sarcoma. Even my doctor had to look it up.
So, one of the things I do like about this movie is that they still managed to get quite a lot of little bits of humour here and there. Even he is trying to be kind of brave in the face of death, you know, and if they told me what colour this was, I'd get some bags to match, things like that. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in the film. What did you think of the performances and the cast?
Oh, everyone was brilliant. You could tell that they felt strongly about what they were showing in this movie. And I loved how everyone was portrayed as everyone handles it differently. Everyone has a different reaction to knowing what's coming or finding out. And I love how Modine portrays his compassion for them. And a lot of the doctors that you see in this, especially one of them, seems like he has zero compassion for anyone. He's just in it.
Alan Alda's character.
Yeah.
He's playing. Yeah. He's playing Gallo.
Yeah.
Dr. Robert Gallo. Yeah. Whose role is still controversial.
Yeah, and it's like, do you not understand that these are people? And I think he forgot somewhere along the way that they were people. He just saw them as their samples. Their cells were what mattered. And the CDC team treated them like human beings, which I'm glad they showed that. I'm glad they showed that somebody cared.
And one of the things that the book has been criticized for, and to a lesser degree, the film, is the portrayal of Gaetan Dugar, who is more widely commonly known as Patient Zero. Now, there's a really interesting documentary about him that's come out recently. I think it's currently on Amazon. It's called Patient Zero, and that was a labeling mistake. He wasn't Patient Zero. He was Patient O. And even though, yes, it was proven that he and he was very sexually active, and he had sex with a number of the men who were early cases. It's kind of portrayed in the book and the film to a lesser degree that he was quite arrogant and unhelpful and this kind of thing. That's actually not true. He actually traveled to the CDC on his own expense and spent several days with them doing like lots of tests and giving blood and stuff, because he actually wanted to be really helpful. He wanted to see what he could do to try and resolve it, because it was killing lots of friends of his.
Yeah, I did wonder about that. They showed him as being very cavalier about his sex life. And it's like, you're already suffering the disease. Wouldn't you want to prevent others from getting it as well? And that struck me as being wrong. I hadn't read the book or even read anything about the case going into it, but I did afterwards, and I was like, that really is the one sticking point. There was no need to portray him as being so unfeeling towards what was going on.
It's a good performance by Jeffrey Nordling playing that role. I mean, the other thing I think that the film does really well, and the other narrative it shows, is it covers the gay activists. Ian McKellen is in there, effectively playing almost playing a character that's not based on Randy Shilts. He is actually based on a very specific individual. But those scenes tend to cover the activists that kind of, you know, that came out and started fighting in public, both to get funding and this kind of thing. And Ian McKellen's character was one of the people that ran with Harvey Milk. Of course, most people will know about that from the Sean Penn movie. That's an absolutely fantastic film, it has to be said. And you never would have pictured Sean Penn playing that role when he was younger. Bill Krause is the name of Ian McKellen's character. This is, I think, one of the things the film does really well is it shows how divided the gay community was at the time in terms of its approach. And, you know, there were a lot of people who kind of didn't want to get involved and just, you know, they were worried about people telling them to stop having sex and all this kind of thing. But this is a good scene that shows you some of that. Let's have a quick look. I always remembered that line, a chill ran up my spine in the cinema when I was watching it, when Ian McKellen says, you know, if something isn't done about this epidemic, they're dead. The vocal minority and a lot more besides. And I was like, oh, damn. I mean, the writing of this is really good, because it's a huge topic that they take on in this movie, and it covers quite a big period of time from, I think, 1980 until 88, I think is kind of the end of the film. And it's a complex issue, and these two narratives are woven together side by side really, really effectively. What did you think about the scene with the blood banks and the stuff that happens with the blood banks and the haemophiliacs?
Oh, that one's heartbreaking, because a lot of the cases were, you know, a lot of it was kids, and they rely on this for, they rely on it to stay alive, and they have no choice. And the blood banks are like, well, we can't deny certain people. We can't say, oh, we're not going to take this. We're not going to test. you're killing people. You know, you're killing people for no good reason. Like, you know something's going on. You don't know how it's being transmitted. There's a good chance that it's bloodborne. At least try to take some safety precautions here. But they didn't.
And they didn't. Only one, I think, acted more promptly, and that was when they were under threat of getting sued. This is a scene. This is later with the same team, and now, you know, they're in the fire now, and this is when they have discovered that it is almost certainly in the blood supply, and the disagreements over what to do.
How to prove it? What do we know? What do we think? What can we prove?
It is in factor A.
You think?
I know.
Proof.
Well, we can't prove anything is in the blood till we have a test.
We can't develop a test until we find the virus.
Yeah, assuming that it even is a virus.
Finding the virus with the equipment we've got, you got a better chance of winning the Indy 500 with a pair of roller skates.
I am sorry. What about Max Essex? Is he finding anything out?
He can't keep the cells alive long enough to see if there is a virus.
I hear the French have the same problem.
Yeah, so does Gallo.
Does anybody have anything positive?
Well, we may be able to do something about the blood supply, even though we can't find the virus. We know that the people that are getting this disease are almost identical to the group of people that are getting hepatitis B. So we did an experiment. We took the hepatitis B test and took blood samples from 60 gay men who got it and 60 men who don't. The test was 88% effective in detecting the disease.
Really?
That is fantastic. I mean, if the blood banks can weed out that many people who have the disease before they donate blood.
Exactly. Wait. Do all of you really believe that the blood industry is going to spend millions of dollars on an idea that is scientifically radical as that?
But it's not so radical, Jim, if you're a hemophiliac.
Can we be realistic just for 1 second?
Yeah, so it took a long time. We've actually just had the end of a public inquiry into what happened with the haemophiliacs in the UK, because it was really badly handled. A lot of people died, and also they knew it was in the blood supply by then. Oh, people are saying they couldn't hear that clip. Is that
heard
right?
this clip, but not the one before it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying. Yeah. So, but people did hear this clip just now, so I don't need to replay it. Okay, all right. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'll make sure I put it on I'll make sure I put it on the right track. So yeah, I mean, and then they try and get the information so they can prove definitively about it being in the person's blood supply, but unfortunately, the blood banks won't give out that information. But then Selma Dritz, who's the character that Lily Tomlin plays, who's the head of public health in San Francisco, she can make bigger demands on people, and eventually she gets access to the files, finds out that the patient was the person who gave blood in this particular case was gay. He was one of the early cases and died and had the whole bag of horrors, so to speak. So all of that eventually led to this conference in January the 4th, 1983. I'll just double check the sound situation. Yeah, you should be able to hear the sound on this one fine. If people don't, I've got it up high as well. So let's have a quick look at this. This is a very effective scene. You might recognize a certain actress from ER in this scene in one of her earlier roles.
I'd like to remind everyone that these are not regulations. These are not regulations from the CDC. This is a workshop where every agency connected to the blood industry can evaluate information that the CDC has found. And together, we are hoping to be able to arrive at some course of action. One option is to establish guidelines, keep people who are at high risk from donating blood to begin with.
Banning homosexuals from giving blood won't protect the blood supply. What it will do is stigmatize them. Reminds me of blood banks rejecting donations from blacks for fear of of syphilis.
Have you any idea of the civil rights implications of establishing
Civil rights,
such
my
guidelines?
ass. My son's a hemophiliac, and if homosexuals are infecting the blood supply, why not keep them from becoming
What do you mean
donors?
the entire gay community? Then what? Separate drinking fountains? One for gays, one for humans?
Don't start that gay rights crap with me. There are 20,000 hemophiliacs in this country, and GRID has become the second leading cause of death amongst them. We have rights too, and one of them is the right to stay alive.
I know that we're dealing with a very complex and a highly emotional issue, but it would
I
help
wonder
a lot
how you
if
can
we're all
expect us to be unemotional when at least one person is dying every day from a disease that doesn't even have a name. Now, if the CDC can't bother to come up with a name, at least it should stop the media from calling it GRID. We have enough people hating gays without having the entire stigma of this disease placed on us, especially since it has been shown that this disease is no longer merely gay-related. Now, I make a motion to officially call this disease acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS.
Questions or discussions on this issue, please?
I second it.
All right, all in favor of Dr. Beller's motion? And opposed?
And so that was the biggest thing that was achieved at that meeting, was that it got that name. It was finally changed from GRID, gay-related immune deficiency syndrome, which is entirely inaccurate, to AIDS. And GRID wasn't even an official name. No one ever called it GRID officially. The media came up with that.
Of course.
No one ever was able to quite pinpoint. They called it gay cancer or GRID. Ryan White, for those people who don't know who Ryan White was a very well-known, highly publicized young boy American who was one of the sort of first public hemophiliac HIV cases. He became very ill. He collapsed at school. And then there was a campaign by the other kids' parents to prevent him from coming back to school once his diagnosis became public. Awful when you think about it now, but I guess that fear was understandable if you were a parent at the time, but doesn't make it right.
No.
God forbid we should repeat behavior like that as a society in the future. The pacing of that scene is indeed perfect. It's a brilliantly directed scene. And that was Laura Innes, who was the hemophiliac, the mother to the hemophiliac in that scene, who played Carrie Weaver in ER. So, who now is a director of television. It's one of those films that certainly gets you angry, isn't it, when you're watching it?
Yes. You're watching these scenes and you try to watch it just as a film, but you can't help yourself but be angry because this actually happened. People were treated this way. They called it that for a reason. They knew the stigma it would create. They had to have. They were stupid. And you have all these people that were scared to get tested even when there was a test. They were scared to get tested because of that stigma that the media created. And it's like, again, because of how they chose to portray this disease, they created more deaths than needed to happen, or people that became sicker rather than getting treatment when it might have helped them later on. It's just sad. The more you watch it, the sadder it gets.
Now, talking of actors that were in The Thing, another short scene and there's lots of big cameos. Actor David Clennon, who was in the TV series 30-something, which some people may remember, which was created by Ed Zwick, who of course went on to be a massive director, directed Glory, Legends of the Fall, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. David Clennon was a regular collaborator of his. And David Clennon was also in The Thing. He played the crazy guy in The Thing. And the one who's starts exploding when everyone's tied up to the bench and his blood tries to escape with the test, So, here he is with actress Swoosie Kurtz, who's an absolutely phenomenal actress, massively, massively underrated actress. I sort of saw her in a couple of things before this. I think she's mainly worked on stage, which is, you know, loss really to the cinema. It's someone I would have loved to have seen, you know, playing, I don't know, Bill Clinton's wife, or
she does look like her, doesn't she? But
yeah, I mean, she could have Hillary Clinton. She could have done a great Hillary Clinton in something.
What people
but
might recognize her from, though, is Liar Liar. She plays the opposing counsel to Jim Carrey in that.
Right. She's
her comedic timing is amazing.
So they have such a powerful scene in the movie, and what's really powerful about it is that they play a couple, real life couple, and I forget the name of the lady, but she's very famous for saying, rather fittingly, she said, "Well, isn't it so typical that I've been diagnosed with AIDS and I didn't even have any fun getting it?"
Yeah.
And which, you know, I thought was very stoic of her. But it's
the way
true
she's
what
afraid
happened.
of handling it.
Yeah, it's true what happened, that the doctor went to see them. This is completely true from the CDC, because it was their information that had been given to them, and he went to discuss the wife's condition. They were a very, very well-to-do couple. They were upper class, very respected people, and she'd had a series of blood transfusions after, I think she'd had some kind of transplant or something like that, and then she
had
started
heart
getting
surgery.
Heart surgery, that was it. Thank you. Yeah, and this is that scene. I'm really risking copyright here, but I just want to show people just how powerful and effective this movie is. But this really happened. This scene, this really happened.
Common after heart surgery. What could my case possibly have to do with AIDS?
They didn't tell you?
Tell me what?
We thought we'd heard everything. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I have here I have here your medical records. You're aware that during your surgery you were given 20 units of blood from Irwin Memorial. Mm-hmm.
You know that.
And then when you started getting all these bizarre diseases one after another, any doctors tell you why?
Well, we've had so many doctors.
None of them had any specific explanation, just severe complications due to surgery.
I have here a letter from one doctor to another at the University of California Medical Center where you had your surgery. We have discovered that one of her blood donors is an AIDS patient.
Imagine being that doctor, and this really happened. Don't forget, this really happened. Imagine being that doctor, going to that meeting, thinking that these people know this already, and then you suddenly realise that they've not been told by their actual doctors, and that the doctors knew and withheld that information from them. I mean, it's just beggars belief, doesn't it? But it happened. It really did happen. And they sued, and they sued them successfully. I think it's Irwin Memorial Hospital. I think it might be, but don't take that as verbatim. Please check. and and they immediately then they implemented the hepatitis B test, which was 88% effective at that time. And they were the first hospital that implemented that test because of this couple. This couple had a lot of powerful connections. They had a lot of money. And they did sue. I can't remember if the husband was infected as well. I can't remember because I don't know if they were still sexually active. There was a couple where that happened and the wife unknowingly was in this situation, and by the time they found out, they were both positive because they still carried on having sex. So I think that was a different couple to this. So a couple of interesting comments in the chat. The electric goat. By the way, Goatee, miss you. You need to come back on the channel sometime. Do come on the Nielsen ratings sometime soon, and also I'll come back on yours as well at some point. And the band played on in high school, and it stuck with me and had a huge impact on how I practiced when I was counselling. And eventually it's why I left, because the doctors all acted like businessmen, which is a line in the movie. Yeah, Big Dave, this is the scene I remember most. Yeah, this is so interesting as well, that this stuck with you. I always noticed how he was the one who broke down and she remained strong. Yeah, I mean, if we just watch that, this is also a piece of acting brilliance from the actors. Yeah. Goes to comfort her, then he's the one who actually sort of collapses. I love that. It's like an acting masterclass. That
it really is.
So good. Again, if you haven't seen this film, it is available on YouTube. You know, if you want your kids to practice safe sex and you're worried about it, just force them to watch this movie, and trust me, the problem will be solved. Because it's the best one, I think, just as a history lesson. You know, combined history lesson, sort of education, the perspective of where it went wrong. There were so many mistakes that were made, particularly by the government, but not just the government, within the communities as well, and stuff like that. You know, there's so many lessons here to learn. And I mean, there will be something else. We've had COVID. You know, we had COVID. Look at where we went wrong there. I mean, can't say that we handled that particularly well, can we? You know?
You'd think we would learn. You would think that by now they would know how to handle something like this, but they don't. And they just prove it again.
The COVID inquiry is also just finished. You know that was running the same time as the blood scandal inquiry. I think they were in the same building on different floors.
Goodness.
And then you had the post office inquiry, which of course I was involved in. That was running in another building down the street, you know. And we had these three very big, quite expensive public inquiries going on at the same time. Great days for lawyers. They're always good paychecks for them. And I mean, it was the report of the COVID inquiry was absolutely scandalous. When I saw the woman who was put in charge, I thought she looked a bit like a yes man, and I wasn't expecting her to be so critical of Boris Johnson and the government. But I think what people have learned is if you're of a certain age and you're put in charge of a public inquiry, you're not going to be around for that much longer, and it's kind of going to be your legacy. So you might as well cut the bullshit and at least go out being known as someone who searched for the truth. And
right.
I think that's the approach that she took, and good on her. I forget her name, Baroness Posh Woman, but
Baroness Posh Woman.
Baroness Posh Woman was in charge of the COVID inquiry. I think they went through about 3 different people before they finally you know, because no one wanted it. It was a poisoned chalice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Oh
Very
God.
different. Wormy
And it's
spoons.
written all over his face too.
Yeah. And I think this is another new member, perhaps, to the channel in the chat. I say that book kill fool, or is that fool kill book if you say it backwards? So it sounds like something on a menu. Yeah, it's another really powerful scene. Were there other? I mean, there's a lot of powerful scenes in this. Was there anything in particular that stayed with you?
Oh, this one is kind of soul crushing, but also the newborns, or you know.
Yeah, that's Angelica Houston. That's Angelica Houston in that scene with newborn babies. Yeah.
Yeah, she's brilliant. Everybody is, but like Lily Tomlin, she's amazing, and Angelica Houston for her small role is brilliant. And Richard Gere was just heartbreaking. That one was really sad because you can just see his acceptance that he is going to live a painfully short life, and it's going to be a horrible end.
Yeah, he's based on his character is got a fictional name in the film, but he's based on the famous Broadway musical choreographer who was bisexual. Actually, he was married, in fact. I think his wife is still alive, or his widow technically. So you know, maybe she was his beard or whatever you want to say. But one of the other actors that this film introduced me to, and it was because of this movie and Stealing Home, which came out 5 years earlier. That was the last time I'd seen him. Was in Stealing Home. He only had a small role, but had some great scenes. Is this actor on the left who was actually nominated for an Oscar not that long ago for Best Actor. I knew he wasn't going to win because he just didn't have the first time he'd been nominated, and he just didn't have the clout that some of the other nominees had, I guess. And of course, we all know that.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, this is Richard Jenkins on the left in a scene with Ian McKellen. He's playing Dr. Marcus Conant, and they're talking about how the, you know, what's going on with the virus and stuff at this stage. This is, I think we're coming on for about sort of 1984 now. Let's have a quick listen.
26 million, unquote, studies relevant to patients with AIDS, unquote. So, if they're spending 10 million on research for the common cold, they're calling that relevant to AIDS research because in both cases the immune system breaks down. The truth is, out of that 26 million, only 750,000 has actually been spent on AIDS research. And what happened to the rest, I have no idea. Hello?
Don Francis.
Oh, Don.
Say, listen, I know this is kind of a strange question, but who do you know in Washington can get me an electron microscope?
Try Nancy.
So the other narrative that that is Ian McKellen, correct. The other narrative he covers is the discovery of the AIDS virus, and the team that actually discovered it was the Pasteur Institute in Paris. Now, if you read official medical journals, you're going to read some bullshit about how Dr. Robert Gallo actually discovered the AIDS virus. And he was an American doctor who specialized, had a certain specialty. And, you know, he was extremely well known and respected. And then he basically tried to steal the glory from the French, whereas all his attempts to discover the virus have been completely unsuccessful. He's played by Alan Alda in this show. And again, it's another narrative that the film juggles very successfully. I've read interviews and seen interviews with the real Gallo where he protests his innocence and about this. I'm going to tell you that I call bullshit on that, and I think Alda's portrayal of him is. Now, I didn't just take that for gospel. I did my own research. I always do my own research. I think Alda's portrayal is spot on.
Anything?
How can I isolate this virus if I just can't keep the cells alive?
How is it possible that in the first few months we found our virus in 2 men who had AIDS, and since then we haven't found it in another case? Not one other case.
I told you.
No,
both of those men had TC.
No, I don't want to hear that.
But
No, I'm sorry. No, listen to me. I don't want to hear it. Listen to me. Statistically, what are the odds on finding 2 men with AIDS, both of whom also have the same leukemia, which is so rare that it's hardly found in anybody? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Fine, Robert.
All right?
Robert, fine.
Somebody in this lab made a mistake. I want you to call up the French Institute and get some more samples of their virus. And while you're at it, find out how they keep the cells alive.
Yeah, so it was actually the samples from the French virus that he used to then pass off his own discovery, and that resulted in a massive pissing contest between France and the US over the discovery, which of course, caused another delay over things. So Jamie Gonzalez in the chat. I might be having him on as a guest shortly. He's an indie filmmaker. So he might be on in the new year. But yeah, that story is really well handled. It also beggars belief, kind of, what went on with it all. It's another thing that just gets you very angry,
Oh, yes.
So and then the sort of political nonsense that went on behind the scenes, while they were fighting to try and save people's lives. Keep in mind how many people were dying by this stage every day. This scene here typifies what happened between the internal politics between France CDC team and Don Francis, played by Matthew Modine.
Hey, Jim, you need a lift? Oh, hi. How you doing? Gallo says that he's found the virus, and he's got a blood test, too.
He has a blood test, and he says he has a blood
No,
test.
he's got it. He's got it. He's passed both tests.
Well, that's good news.
No, it's not good news, Don, because Gallo wants to take all the credit, and he wants the patent for the NIH.
If he does that, the French will sue.
That's right. They're going to sue. So it'll probably take years before anything gets done. Drive carefully.
It's why we do what we do.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that happened, and he did try and take all the credit. He tried to get the patent so that he would profit from medication development, and there's a lot of money to be made down that road.
Yeah. And if even half of what they portray him doing in this is true, kind of a despicable human being to try to profit on these people's deaths, basically.
I think he had a bit of a god complex going on, and his own virus HTLV3 was a rare certain type of virus that he found in 2 gay men who also had AIDS, but it was related to something else. It wasn't AIDS, but he was certain that it was. You can judge for yourself if Alan Alda was the right person to play him, because here's a picture of the real Bob Gallo. I think it's a pretty good casting choice.
That's not bad as casting goes.
Yeah, Big Pharma. Don't underestimate the power of
Exactly.
Big Pharma. I mean, you only need to look at, and I'll tell you what, we're definitely going to do a stream in the future. We're going to do a stream on the OxyContin crisis and the dramas that have covered that. And there have been 2 really good ones. There was the one with Matthew Broderick that landed on Netflix recently. And then there was the one before that has probably the best performance of his life. Even better than Birdman, I think, is Michael Keaton's performance as a doctor who gets addicted to OxyContin. God, I forget the name of the show. It will come to me. It's an amazing show. And I've talked about it before, but I think now my channel's a bit bigger, I'd like to talk about it again, and because it's not a show that a lot of people saw, and it's one of the best television dramas, true stories ever made, as is And the Band Played On. Yeah, so eventually the French and the Americans come to an agreement, but Gallo doesn't actually honor that agreement, and it causes more problems. So yeah, you know, it just, the whole thing just gets worse and worse, and there's they actually did one of those early things where they inserted Alan Alda into some real footage, a bit like they did with Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump, you know, where he like meets the presidents and things like that. Yeah, they did a similar technique here in this scene. Again, this kind of underscores the political bullshit that was going on.
Which causes AIDS, excuse me, is our eminent Dr. Robert Gallo.
Yeah.
Thank you, Secretary Heckler. I should start and be brief by saying that there obviously are other major contributors, and in our own group, I have to mention someone who came to us from Czechoslovakia, Dr. Mika Popovic. A lot of this could not have been done without the previous support from the Cancer Institute on the earlier HTLV isolates. I've seen discussions about work in Paris. There is not, there never has been any fights or controversies between us and the group in France. I came back from a meeting astonished to see this kind of discussion. The laboratory at the Pasteur Institute and my laboratory have been...
Right, so to be clear, and just for anyone who wants to know the clear facts, so in 1991, following years of controversy surrounding a 1987 out-of-court settlement between the National Institute of Health and the France Pasteur Institute, Gallo admitted, so this is very important, Gallo admitted the virus he claimed to have discovered in 1984 was in reality a virus sent to him from France the year before, putting an end to a 6-year effort by Gallo and his employer, the National Institute of Health, to claim the AIDS virus as an independent discovery. By the end of 1992, the Office of Research Integrity, ORI, found Gallo to be guilty of research misconduct. But in 93, they dropped the allegations because, based on new standards, the evidence was insufficient to prove their case. Or in other words, big people had a word with big people and, you know, things were dropped.
They covered it all up like they always do.
Yeah. As a result, in 1994, the French Blood American Test Agreement was tweaked so that Montagnier, who's the doctor who discovered it, received a bigger share of royalties from the sale of test kits. I mean, this is what this is about, you know. These are doctors and royalties for test kits and shit. Really? Like, yeah. So I think there should be laws that, like, doctors and researchers, you know, aren't able to profit off that kind of thing. They should be on a standardized salary from everyone else. Otherwise, people are always going to conduct themselves in this way. But I guess that's Lance dreaming about a utopia that doesn't exist.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's pretty despicable, isn't it? Pretty despicable behavior, you know. But anyway. You can read about all that on Wikipedia. He also got a Nobel Peace Prize as well. Well, you know, so...
Of course he did.
No, sorry, no. I'll correct myself. I'm wrong about that. Sorry, Montagnier and his colleague Francois, who is portrayed in the movie, they got the Nobel Peace Prize for their work on HIV, but Gallo was left out. And Gallo said it was a disappointment not to be named as a co-recipient. Montagnier said he was surprised Gallo was not recognised. It was important to prove that HIV was the cause of AIDS, and Gallo had a very important role in that. I'm sorry for Robert Gallo. I'm not. I'm just going to say I'm not sorry.
No,
he got as much recognition as he deserved to get, which was so. Yeah, I mean, again, the scene that follows this highlights very effectively the kind of bullshit that they continue to deal with at the CDC while trying to discover the cause and a cure and medications and all the rest of it.
Friends for about 15 years. We are, in fact, collaborating. If what they have identified in science a year ago is the same.
Phase 1 is finished. We found the virus. We're working on a blood test. This is my proposal for phase 2. Prevention, education, and cure. If that goes through, I want to be transferred to San Francisco and work on it from there.
$37 million a year? That's totally unrealistic.
It's not unrealistic. It's cheap. It's about 15 cents per person to make the entire population safer. It's what's needed. Read the report.
Sure, it's what's needed, but you're not going to get it. And if you ask for this much, you'll get nothing. Try to refigure this for $4 or $5 million.
Refigure it. It's an honest report. I want you to send it in.
Don, look,
Yeah, that got rejected. It got put in. It got rejected. It was 37 million for prevention and education, and of course, well, the amount of money that's been spent now is in the billions. So there you go.
Just basically a drop in the bucket that could have gone a long way to helping people. Nope, we can't do that.
Yeah. One of the other powerful things about this movie is all the actual. There's several little vignettes of real news footage of things that were going on at the time that sort of set the tone for the other. Of course, this all happened under Reagan. It took him, I think, about 2 years to say the word AIDS in public, or was it 4? I forget. It might have been 4. From the point of the.
Well, I think they show him running for re-election. So all through his first term, he just ignored it.
So there's a little sort of compilation here. Let's just have a look at these.
Thank you all very much. It seems we did this 4 years ago. And Nancy and I would like to express
this is not a political issue. This is a health issue. This is not a gay issue. This is a human issue.
Had this disease afflicted children or members of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure the Reagan administration would have been breaking down all doors in order to push the government in all fronts to deal with it.
I came here today in the hope that my epitaph would not read that I died of red tape.
Yeah, that guy talking, that was Roger Leons, I think his name was. Mm-hmm. And he did die, I think, about a year after that, after he came and gave evidence before. Would it be the House Select Committee or
yes,
however that works in America? Yeah. So, and but there were, by sort of 84, 85, there were a lot of people starting to go public and, calling people to account over the way they behaved. I mean, the film doesn't have a happy ending, as you can imagine. Yeah. It is a true depiction of what happened at the time. And then the other thing, which is very powerful at the end of the movie, is there's I'm going to have to mute this because of the music, but there's a depiction of course, the famous candlelit march, which I think happens every year. I don't know if this happens on December 1st. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. I might just check that. But everybody walks through. Each candle represents somebody who's lost somebody. And this is all real footage from, I think, the first big one that they had, first or second one. And this is at the end of the movie. It's played to a song that Elton John wrote. It's then they have a compilation of footage of people dealing with the epidemic from all over the world, followed by, and this is the quilt, of course, with all different people's names on, footage of protests and things like that. That's the UK. That's the guy who died of red tape. Yeah, Roger Gale Lyons. And then this is his AIDS quilt. And then you have footage of loads of people that passed away. This was the first time when I saw this movie. This is the first time when I saw these people that have been affected. I didn't know that the actor who played the dad in the Brady Bunch had died of HIV. You know, I had no idea. That's Rock Hudson. This is the clip when he was on TV and suddenly everybody went, my God, what's going on with him? He looks really ill. Anthony Perkins, you know, another one that I also didn't know about. I think that's is that Baryshnikov? That's Arthur Ashe, who got it through a blood transfusion. And so on. So, you know, Liberace. Yeah, this compilation was quite eye-opening at the time, because a lot of these people who passed away, it wasn't a big story, or it wasn't public knowledge initially. Elizabeth Taylor, of course, did a huge amount of work bringing the epidemic to, you know, she was a public face. Now that is the wife. That's the wife of the guy who plays Paul Michael Glaser, who directed the original Running Man movie, and of course he was in Starsky and Hutch. I think he played Starsky, didn't he? Mm-hmm. And Paul Michael Glaser's wife caught it from a blood transfusion, which could have been avoided, and she also infected, I think, 2 or 3 of her children. As a result of that, because I think she was pregnant at the time, and also she gave birth to a second child before she realized she had it, passed the virus on to both of them, and I think both of those children also died. So, I mean, you know, what a devastating effect on one family. Now, of course, he's still around, isn't he? He's still around.
Yeah.
That's Larry Kramer, who wrote A Normal Heart. Yeah, is it Magic Johnson? It was Magic Johnson,
Yeah,
right?
he's still going strong on medication. Thank God.
Yeah, which is great, you know. And there are people that did survive, but those in the 80s, very few now. Steve Rebell, the owner of Studio 54, there he is. That's the famous artist that does really cool artwork. So Denham Elliott, people may remember him from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You know, so many people. I mean, it's great that it's not been completely eradicated, but now it's a manageable condition. We talked about this at the beginning. Medication makes people uninfectious. That's a really important thing, really important message that needs to get out there, really, and enables people to live a normal life. There's still huge stigma, actually. And my cousin, that's Ryan White, by the way. That's the real Ryan White. My cousin was so afraid of the stigma, and this is in 1992, so it was very public knowledge by then. But he didn't tell anybody until I think probably about a month or 2 before he died. So my parents found out because my dad's twin brother's son. So my mother knew, because I remember my mother telling me that she knew somebody who had it. And when I asked her who that was, she wouldn't tell me. And when I found out later that it was Mikael, and she robbed me of the chance of like jumping on a plane and going to see him in Denmark, robbed me the chance of saying goodbye to him, I absolutely did my nut. Probably the first time I really had a proper go at her as an adult, and told her that she took that decision away from me. I was really annoyed. But I guess at the same time, she was probably told not to tell anyone, so not a great spot for her to be in.
No.
Yeah, so you go through that. So he felt, obviously, the stigma out then was very real. That's the character that Richard Gere is based on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quite a good likeness, as you can see.
Yeah, it's very good casting.
Yeah. So for the benefit of those people watching, obviously this film is it's not a cheery uppy date movie. It is a hard watch. You know, there's an awful lot in here about loss and everything else, but it is a really good account of what happened and what went wrong, and I urge people to watch it. I urge you to use it as an educational tool for your kids, because it will definitely make your kids practice safe sex if they watch this film. Because, you know, whilst it might be manageable and the drugs are available and all that kind of thing, you still don't want your 18-year-old son or daughter, or God forbid even younger, to pick up this thing, you know. So, and the band played on. What would you give this as a rating out of 10 if we were on an episode of the Nielsen ratings? I think I might have talked about this on the Nielsen ratings before. But yeah, what would you give it out of 10?
I think I would give it a 9 out of 10 because I only have that one problem with the portrayal of one person. But other than that, it's fantastic.
I think
the
I'd
writing
give it,
is perfect.
I mean, I'd give it 10 because I think at the time when it was made, that was their understanding. Because they were going off, the source material was the book, and of course, we now know perhaps a more nuanced performance. I mean, he was, I think, Dougie, as people called him, or Gaetan Dugas, you know, he was flamboyant, he was outspoken. He did cause controversy when he spoke at a certain conference, and you know, that's in the documentary about him. So he was a controversial figure, but he wasn't. But he was proactive about trying to do something about it and trying to help the doctors, not as evasive as perhaps portrayed in this film. Yeah, Eazy-E hadn't died at the time that this was made, of course. But that's a terrible story, and he was probably given a needle stick from what's his name of Death Row Records, wasn't it? The guy that's in prison now, who used to run Death Row Records. You know the guy I mean? He attacked and killed somebody, and it was caught on CCTV, and he went to prison.
Yeah, but can I remember right now?
Do you know what? He doesn't.
I know what you mean.
He doesn't deserve to be remembered. So now the other show that I want to talk about, which unfortunately my guest hasn't seen. Thank you, Suge Knight. Yeah, that's right. So I wonder how he's doing in prison. So, and we'll leave that there. Yeah. When we rise, so this dropped on ABC, as you can see, on the 27th of February. Now, memory serves me that this was 2017, but I think in the UK, we didn't get it until a bit later. I didn't find out about it. I don't recall watching this until about 2018. This is based on a book by Cleve Jones. Cleve Jones is portrayed in the film Milk by one of my favorite actors. And this is really the book that he wrote about. It's not just about the HIV/AIDS epidemic. It's really his life story as a gay man living in America from the sort of 70s through to present day, and he is still alive. It's a really interesting story, but it also, in the book, he talks about some of his friends, and what they do with the show is they take several of those friends, including a couple of other key figures of that time, and they follow their narratives as well. But of course, if you're going to do a biopic of either a gay woman or a gay man, at some point, and that biopic starts in the 1970s and ends in the present day, at some point that biopic is going to collide with the AIDS epidemic. And When We Rise does exactly that. I think it's in, we just double check, but I think it's 8 parts. And I mean, this isn't, it's created by Dustin Lance Black. who's a prolific writer. The actor, by the way, who I actually asked to come and be on this today, I didn't get a reply from him, which is a real shame, is Austin P. McKenzie. And when this came out, he plays the younger version of Cleve Jones in 4 episodes, and then after 4 episodes, everybody ages, and we kind of get older versions of the characters. He was really, really good, and I thought, wow, we're gonna see a lot more of this kid. But I think he predominantly works in theatre, because I do follow him on Instagram. And then later in the show, Cleve Jones is played by Guy Pearce, who I think Rebel is one of your fave actors, if I remember rightly. You're quite a big Guy Pearce fan, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's one of those that never fails to amaze.
Yeah. Another actor who's in this, who I absolutely loved, who passed away sadly quite young, is Michael Kenneth Williams. And Michael Kenneth Williams was in The Wire, if you may remember. He played Omar. Omar's here. Who went around basically robbing all the drug dealers. So yeah, and sadly he passed away in 2021 at the age of 54, which was a shame because he was such a great actor. Fentanyl poisoning, and he did grow up on the street. I mean, he really broke out from the streets, became an Emmy-nominated actor. Again, it's one of his best performances. Strongly urge, if you're a fan of Omar from The Wire, Michael Kenneth Williams, you've not seen When We Rise. He's in the last 4 episodes. His character is played by Jonathan Majors, who plays Ken Jones. The real Ken Jones, I believe, is still alive. Ken Jones is a character who loses his partner to AIDS, and it's like one of these terrible stories where him and his partner were sharing a house, but the house was in his partner's name, so the partner's relatives all turn up after the partner's died and just kick him out on the street, which is just such a that happens so much. Partners not being invited to funerals, all of that kind of thing. That happens so much. It was despicable how people behaved. I mean, thankfully that sort of thing wouldn't go on now, but and again, that's another thing that When We Rise covers quite effectively. We don't see that stuff in And the Band Played On because we're not covering that narrative so much. Now they did
kind of touch on it.
Well, yeah, you've got the group of activists in San Francisco and their stories, and it is covered in the book. It is covered in the book much more.
I feel like Bill's story is the only time they really touch on it. How he's going to handle, yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find this speech because on YouTube, because I have a feeling if I play, I've got the file here, but I think if I play the file, the audio won't work. Let me just see if I can, because there's a clip, it's got to be on here. Oh, why is it not showing up? All right.
They never do when you want them to.
I'm searching and I'm getting a clip of a lion yawning. It's like,
of course.
What's it got to do with When We Rise? YouTube used to be very effective at this kind of these kind of searches. Let me try Cleve Jones' speech and see if it's in there. I know I've got loads of clips of the real Cleve Jones talking. I had an email exchange with the real Cleve Jones actually some time back. That was after watching Milk. I found him on I found him on social media. I wrote to him about some of the things that I'd seen in Milk, and I wrote to him again asking him to come on my podcast. But he is a man who does do podcasts, he does do speeches and stuff, but there are fees involved there. And So the three main characters it follows three narratives, which is Cleve Jones, Ken Jones, no relation, who's the African American character, and Roma Guy, who's a lesbian activist, and her story collides really with the gay characters when her and her friends, because lesbian and gay men traditionally don't work well together. You know, their communities don't often overlap, and they were very separate, and getting them to do anything together was always quite complicated. The one time, or perhaps the first major time that happened, was really the gay women got involved when they saw that the gay men were dying in the hospitals and the nurses weren't going in to feed them and stuff like that. And that's when they got involved, and they would go in and they would take in the meals and things like this. And good on them for doing that. There's a really interesting interview with some of the real people being interviewed. Like here, I'll show people this quickly. I won't play any of it, but just so you guys can find it, and I'll drop the link in. This is the real Ken Jones, who's played by Michael Kenneth Williams, and Jonathan Majors plays the younger version of him. This is actually him sort of doing an interview about the show and stuff, and obviously he's a survivor of the epidemic who lost his partner, was kicked out of his house, and so on. So, you know, these are real stories. It's I'm always drawn to these human interest stories and how people overcome these kind of tragedies, because we all have to overcome something at some point. We all lose our parents. We all go through loss. So we all have to deal with these kinds of things at some time. And although it's difficult to watch these stories sometimes, I don't know, there's always something I take from them that somehow makes me stronger. Does that make sense to you? I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I think it does. I mean, if they can persevere.
Exactly. And you think you're having a bad day, you know, and you see what somebody went through and the band played on, or you see what somebody went through in When We Rise, very different times, as we say. It really makes you appreciate what you have. Okay, I can't find that speech. I'm going to try and play this, and we'll see if the audio works. Now, this is the AIDS quilt. For anybody who doesn't know, what happened in the crisis in America and over Europe is that people were basically being cremated. There was no service. There was no grave. In the early days of the epidemic, people were being cremated. Their families, who now suddenly found out they were gay because they had AIDS, they'd not told them, were shunning them. They didn't want to know. And awful stories. You know, young men in New York dying alone in bedsits, you know, and basically being cremated, no grave, and disappearing. And, various people knew that various people had died. And there was a huge protest about this at San Francisco City Hall in, I think it was 1985. And Cleve Jones led the protest, and they brought all these placards along with people's names on who had died. And he did this very powerful speech and said, and if we don't have sound, I'll read it. But he said, I did a post about it today on my Facebook. I always do a post on about my cousin every December 1st. And this year I quoted his speech. And man, I don't think I'll be able to read it out without crying, because it gets me in the feels every time, that speech. But it says, right, this is the scene. Let me get my Facebook up. his speech is, "We send this message to America. We are the lesbians and gay men of San Francisco. We are survivors, and we shall survive again. And we shall be the most strongest, gentle people on the earth. How many of you have lost a friend, a co-worker, or a lover? If we are to survive, we cannot die in silence. We must make their names known. Write their names and put them on this federal building. Write their names so they know we are their sons and daughters," and I expanded it a bit here, "fathers and mothers, cousins and friends. Write their names so they will never be forgotten." This is an abbreviation of that scene, but again, you might not be able to hear the audio. If you can't, tell me in the chat, but it's a very powerful sequence.
Pariah say anybody but our. We send this message to America. We are the lesbians and gay men of San Francisco. We are survivors. We shall survive again. And we shall be the strongest, most gentle people on this earth. How many of you have lost a friend, co-worker, or a lover? If we are to survive, we cannot die in silence. We must make their names known. Write their names. Write their names and put them on this federal building. Write their names so they know we are their sons and we are their daughters. Write their names. Write their names.
So this is when the idea for the quilt became reality. He looked at that and said, "God, it's like a quilt." Now, if you read Randy Shilts' book, when this scene is written about, one of the really interesting things is that, and there were thousands of people on this march, is that loads of people learned that a friend of theirs had died at that moment because they saw their name up on the wall, because they just didn't know what happened to them. You've got to remember, this is pre-internet, this is pre-mobile phone, this is when to stay in touch, you either met regularly in a bar, or you'd call a landline and say, "Hey, are we going to such and such at 9 o'clock? See you there." But as a community, you'd meet by regularly turning up or frequenting the same bars or going to the same theatre, the movie theatre or whatever. And slowly people from that community started disappearing, but it was all rumours. No one really known what had happened to Earl Walker or Kurt Murphy or Jimmy Taylor, or Barbara Matheson. These people just started disappearing. It wasn't always known. And these are all real names on the wall here. And then suddenly on this day, there was a whole load of people going, "My God, I didn't know so-and-so. I didn't know he'd gone. I didn't know she'd gone." I can't quite imagine being there that day and already in that sea of grief and then dealing with that on top of that. Just There were friends of mine. They weren't friends of mine at the time, but because now my life is rich with all the different plays I've done and the cross section of people I've met and so on. Friends of mine now, who back then were in the middle of this, and one of them told me at one point he went to something like, I think it was 11 funerals in 1 week at the height. And there was one like really early in the morning, and then he went from that church to another service, and then just made it to one in the evening somewhere else. It's so great that I think the community of itself, the people who really made the most impact was an organization called ACT UP, which Larry Kramer founded, and a very kind of aggressive, rightly so, organization that instead of writing little letters and hoping things were going to change, they ACT UP was their name. They did sit down to protest. They chained themselves to gates. They demanded early release of medication trials. They got things moving, and without a doubt, saved lives. There's a fantastic documentary that I saw not that long ago. It was a couple of years ago, the first time I saw it. It's also a book, and it's called How to Survive a Plague. And I think the documentary's fairly widely available. It might even be on YouTube, and many people consider it a benchmark documentary. It's got interviews with a lot of the key people, including Larry Kramer, and footage from the time told by people who were there, people who survived, but who lost lots of friends. And there's footage of early meetings of people gathering, sort of the early grassroots people gathering in basements in New York to have these kind of public meetings of their community to try and decide what to do to fight the epidemic, to take more positive action. Because you had Gay Men's Health Crisis, which was a phone line and lots of advice and stuff, and was very effective as an organization in terms of offering support, but in terms of offering actual changes within the government at that time, it was very ineffective. And that's why Larry Kramer resigned from there and started ACT UP. And How to Survive the Plague is not just the story of ACT UP, but it covers a lot of other things. There's a guy called Peter Staley who's in it, whose story is very effective, very affecting. He's still around, I believe. I chatted with him not a million moons ago. He's another person I wanted to get on this stream, but it's very difficult to get big name HIV activists on a stream on World AIDS Day, because they get about 5,000 offers to do lots of things.
Of course.
Yeah. So you just got me and Rachel basically, but
you're in good company anyway.
You've got the two of us. But it's also, it's always interesting to hear people's reactions, like literally gut reactions to stuff that they've just seen. Would you say, even though And the Band Played On was made in 1993, would you say that it was still an education for you on the subject?
Oh, of course. It's not like if they made it now, where you're looking at it from 30 years later, oh, this is what happened. They were still they were closer to what had happened. Like, it feels like everyone that was involved in making it understood the cost that the community had faced, and they wanted to tell that story. And it really did feel like it was giving us more of an intimate look at the outbreak and the cost of it, And how we'd look at it now is like, oh, this happened, it's so sad. No, these people knew people that died. A lot of them probably were, they probably went to these marches and knew people who had passed, and they didn't even know until later. And it's just sad to think about.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to watch a documentary, that sort of parallels and the band played on, you want to watch a good documentary, I highly recommend this one. Again, if you've got teenagers, you're worried about them having unsafe sex, the perfect double bill, and the band played on How to Survive a Plague, I guarantee you your kids will never not use a condom. But it's very powerful stuff. That's Larry Kramer on the left. And this is one of the meetings. So yeah, this is the people from ACT UP doing their thing, So these are various key characters who are interviewed now. Yeah, David France is still with us, thankfully. And Sharon Waxman, I think, was one of the people who was involved early on. So Howard produced the documentary. It's a landmark documentary. I mean, it's won so many awards. Fantastic piece of work. So yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna start to wrap it up. We've been on for nearly 2 hours. That flew by, didn't it?
It really did. It doesn't seem like we've been here that long.
No, I thought we'd only been on about an hour. I mean, I know we had a bit of a jumbled start. I think, could people hear the audio in that clip? I guess people could, because no one said anything. Maybe it's because
I think it was just the one. It was
Okay.
just the one clip. Sadly, the one with the most impactful dialogue is the one that we didn't get to hear. But
Really? I think the problem is I'm probably going to get untold copyright flags as soon as I come off this live.
oh, sure.
Yeah, it may well be the case. We'll see. But do you know what? What I'm going to do, because it's more important to me that this gets seen. I'm going to demonetize this video or this live stream now while we're still on air. So let me do that, and hopefully that will minimize. Hopefully that will minimize the impact. I'm not making money from it, and it's not that you make much money from these little things anyway.
No.
Yeah, so I'm gonna demonetize it. Where is it? Let's find it. Oh yes, here we are. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that off. Let's save that. Very good. Yeah, so coming up, we're in the run up to Christmas now. We're on the Advent calendar. If you haven't bought your Lego Advent calendar for 2025, do it now. Probably become valuable soon. Lots of cute little Star Wars toys in there. So coming up, this is what I've got lined up between now and Christmas Day. I've actually had to push a couple of things till 2026. But I've got an industry interview on December the 15th with a first-time author, M.K. Stanley. He's got this kind of dystopian post-apocalyptic novel he's written. He's coming on to talk about that in his first-time book. I've got Mark Anthony talking about a very different book next Monday on the 8th of December. His book, 1988. No relation to my book, 1988. Quite funny that I've got a guy coming on who's got the same title as book as me. That's Monday the 8th of December. Wednesday the 10th of December, we've got the Chew the Fat on the Polish TV show, the one that's named after the ferry. Can you remember how to pronounce that? I can't. Is it Elwishi? Something like that?
I don't think that's even close, but
I don't think it is. Are you going to watch that show so you can take part?
yeah, I can watch that one and add to the calendar.
Yeah, because there's certainly time. It's Hawilshush, something like that. That was probably more accurate. That attempted pronunciation. This is a show that's not received. It's not. Yeah, no, he pronounced it perfectly. I think he got some A on or something to do, because no way he knew that. this is the show. It's a fantastic true story drama. Again, exactly the kind of thing that I find impactful to watch. It's not getting a lot of love on Netflix, so we're going to try and give it a bit of a plug here with my massive channel of nearly 6,000 subscribers. And we're going to try and give it a bit of a push. It's a good show. It's worth your time. Similar to Estonia, which we talked about last year, which also didn't get a lot of publicity. And I guess these are difficult watches, but it's good. It's good. It's good. You should watch it. So I've got that coming up. And then I think I have. So yeah, the interview with Mark Antony. I think I might have one other thing later this week, which hasn't been confirmed. I've got a couple of interviews scheduled for 2026 already. I will be doing some streams over the Christmas season. I'll probably do something late on Christmas Day. So for anybody who's available sort of later in Christmas Day, who's bored, you can jump on. Be the sort of Lance Keeps You Company on Christmas Day stream. And anybody who's on their own will be welcome to jump on that one and have a bit of a laugh with me. I won't be doing anything on New Year's Eve because I'm actually going out. Guess where I'm going on New Year's Eve?
A rave.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, raving. Yeah. I'm going to a day rave on New Year's Eve, and I'm going to a day rave on New Year's Day. But New Year's Eve, I'm coming back and I'll be here. But just coming back and going to bed. I've also got 2 friends staying with me as well, so who are from outside London. Very good. And of course we have the Nielsen ratings every Tuesday. I think we've got 2 or 3 more shows of that before the end of the year. So do come and talk to us about that. Right, I have to go and join someone in putting the Christmas tree up now. So I have to shoot off straight away, I'm afraid, Rebel, after this, because I said I'd put it up at 9:30 and suddenly realised it's now 10 o'clock. So, but thank you so much for joining me and ensuring I wasn't on my top.
Welcome.
You're always great company. Is your crowdfunder still going? Can we give it a little plug while we're here?
Yeah.
What's the link for that?
It's going.
If any of my mods are in the chat and they can get that, or if you want to pop it in the private chat, I can. Well, you're a moderator anyway, aren't you? Aren't you a moderator? You can.
No, I'm not. You've never given me a wrench.
Oh, say something in the chat right now, and I'll wrench you up, baby. So, always wanted to say that. I mean, wrench you up, but not necessarily with the baby bit. It sounded very Kojak. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, just put a comment in the chat, and I'll give you a wrench.
Just
should definitely be a moderator. Actually, hang on. As should this person. I'm going to add this person as a mod as well. There we go. Eclectic Goat is also now a moderator. Yeah. So, Hey, I see you made a comment earlier. I've got you. There you go. Done. You're now a moderator. Boom. All right.
Excellent. So I'll just drop the link in there.
Yeah, just put it in and I'll put it up on screen. So for anyone watching, Rebel Rose is going through some tough times at the moment, as many of us are, but particularly tough in her case. And I'll let the link speak for itself. But if you have a spare few bucks, please send them her way. Facing some very challenging tasks, and would certainly make her life a little bit easier. And we love Rebel Rose, so anything that can make her life easier. Or if you would like to buy one of her paintings, do also check out her artwork on meow.com, and you can. That's not the address, but you can check out. If you just Google Rachel Percy art, you'll get loads of links will come up and stuff. Do you want to drop that link in for me, or are you having trouble finding it?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, I have to find it myself before I can. I don't keep things like I should. I'm not very organized.
We announced our departure too quickly. Let me waffle on for another 10 minutes. I've got lots of experience. got lots of experience with waffling. Yeah. So, oh dear. Yeah. There are a couple of other guests. I'm high-end guests I'm trying to secure. If you didn't see my interview with composer Bruce Broughton, Broughton. Watch it. It's fantastic. The audio is a bit dicey in the first 20 minutes, but just fast forward, it does resolve itself. He has already agreed to coming back on again.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, he wants to do. It's actually his suggestion. He said, "Lance would be very up for doing a part 2 if you feel we were pushed for time." I mean, I kind of want to ask him lots of stories about people I know he met that are no longer around. I want to run all that by him first because that feels. I also want to talk about his music again, of course, but
yeah,
what
that
a
was
great
a wonderful interview.
He was such a lovely man. I mean, you know, and it's so great that we met when we did, because it would have been too late otherwise. So yeah, do we have the link? Because I do have to leave.
Yep.
I can hear the Christmas tree attendee getting restless.
Ah, yes.
I'll be there in a sec.
Yep. I'm trying.
For those people, by the way, so I should be doing this every stream. I should be doing this at the beginning of every stream. I should be doing it at the end of every stream. I'm so terrible about advertising my own shit. So I do have a book out. I have several books out. However, I do believe that people watching this stream will find 2 of my books particularly to their liking. One is called Back to Raving at 50, which is quite an impactful book, I'm told, by people who've got it. I wasn't sure if it would be of much interest, but this is the story about how I went back to dancing in my 50s. There I am on the right with my orange glasses on, and there's a load of my friends. And funnily enough, all the people that are in this picture I was actually dancing with on Saturday. And it's really a sort of, you know, how mental health and dancing really helped me out. That's available now on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon.com if you're in the States, or Amazon.co.uk if you're in the UK. Just type Back to Raving in at 50 in the search bar, you'll find it. My other book that people will like is Silver Screen Journeys, which is all about films, and it's about 125 movies that have impacted my life, where I saw them, who I saw them with, and what they meant to me at the time. Yeah, you know, and I think that's something that most people that like watching movies will relate to. Again, I'm told that people do seem to relate to the book. Here's a picture of one of my friends holding his copy. So, you know, here you go. Yeah, and he's currently in The Lion King in the West End. There you go.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it looks like a lion, doesn't he? So, you know, I'm sure he walked in and they gave him the job. Yeah, it's actually one of my former acting students, Orlando, lovely guy. And here is the link for Rachel's GoFundMe, or whichever one of those it is. Is it Indiegogo or Gives a Go-Go? Something.
Give, Send, Go, yeah.
One of those. So click on that, check out Rebel Rose's story, and if you can, give a few pennies. Please do. In fact, it's more important to do that than buying one of my books. But if you're looking for gifts, people, then there you go. My books are also available. No problem. Thank you very much. Thank you. We had a couple of new people tuning in that I've not seen on the channel before. Book Kill Full being one of them. Thank you for coming on. I think Big Dave has been on a couple of times before. But again, it's nice to see some new names in the chat regularly contributing. And I appreciate the topic tonight. Probably, you know, wasn't for everybody, but do appreciate you coming on, guys and girls. Thank you very much for tuning in. Spread the word about the channel. I've got loads of amazing interviews on this channel that a lot of people won't have seen. Do spread the word, and yeah, it would be great to get a few more subs this side of Christmas. That's good night from me, and that's also good night from her. That'd be you, Rebel.
Good night, everyone.
Wow.
Hang out with the Lance at the Outcast Creative, where all the misfits and dreamers get innovative. It's film, TV, and theater in the mix. Industry interviews, where ideas get their fix. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcast Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Interviews with fellow artists on the rise, and reviews that might surprise. Films, TV shows from back in the day. You might just find a hidden gem today. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcast Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Makers, comic book creators, stand up proud. Actors, musicians, board game designers, be loud. At Outcast Creative, amazing's the word. He even interviewed the legend, Galen Hurd. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcast Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. So come along, take a chance. Join the Outcast, hang with Lance. Bring your vision, your art, your flair. At Outcast Creative, there's always room to share. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew.